tools I use for this: a grease gun, which you don't really need that heavy duty of a grease gun. You can just use a tube of grease. I just had that, so might as well, right? Then we got a Q-tip. I use that so I didn't have to get the grease on my fingers. I just use the Q-tip for it to be clean. A little bit cleaner of an application. Just a typical flathead screwdriver, and then a number 10 socket wrench. And you may want an open end wrench, but that's up to you. We are installing the front brake and the clutch lever. As you can see, the 2007-2008 GSX-R 1000s or the K7 K8, it's a hydraulic mechanism and is not your typical clutch cables. And I'm going to show you how we can install it correctly so you do not have problems. Let's get started. So the first side we're going to be working on is going to be your clutch side. And what we need to take out is this bolt here with the flathead. And then you have a 10mm bolt that's underneath here. And once we remove both of those, we should be able to remove the clutch lever. Now I just need to pull this guy out. So this pin here is your plunger. You need to make sure that on the new levers that you can get it back inside of the pocket where it goes. And then try and clean it off if it's dirty at all, because you want everything to work smoothly in here. We're now on the brake side, and it's going to be the same thing right here. And then you have your nut, it's down here. Since I've already loosened it, I just need to, and try not to drop that bolt so it can fall down in there and get stuck. It's not very fun fishing it out. Okay. And then you can see this side also has a plunger, and it's very critical that you don't have this compressed at all. So otherwise your front brakes will lock up. The brake pads get too warm, they expand, and it locks up your front brake. So you need to be very critical when we put on the brake lever back on this side. So here we have the levers I just took off. This here is going to be our brake lever. This is the clutch lever, where that plunger goes into. You need to make sure you don't lose this piece. That's going to go inside of the new aftermarket levers that you have. I bought these levers off of Moto Mummy. You can get them, the levers, in lots of different colors. You can get the adjusters in a different color if you like. And these are the shorty version. And you just need to make sure that you compare the aftermarket brake lever with the brake lever that you took off to make sure that it's going to work. And the same with the clutch lever. So you want to measure up the holes with the mounting bracket on the brake lever with the mounting bracket on the new aftermarket brake lever. One's not bigger than the other one, and one's not smaller. And then they have the same mounting brackets on them. Look pretty good. Next thing you want to check is where that plunger goes. So on the original ones that we just took off, that's where the plunger goes into. On the aftermarket ones, it's the same spot. So now let's take a look at the clutch lever here. And it has the same mounting position on this one as well. And they look pretty similar. And if we match up the mounting holes, so those look good. And then just make sure that where that plunger goes into, which on the original one it used to sit like this, that plunger goes inside the hole there. You want to make sure that this piece here is cleaned up. You don't want any gunk on it when you're installing it on the new levers, so clean it up if it's dirty. And that's how it's going to sit on the new aftermarket ones. And that is where the plunger will go into. We're going to dry fit this first before we install it. And I'm taking the mounting there, and I'm going to put it onto the plunger. So it's on the plunger, and then we want to put the bolt that we took off earlier through there. I'm not going to bother putting the bottom bolt on because we're just doing a test on it. And the plunger looks good, which you can see on this side. It's right there, that silver you can see inside of here. So it's coming out, and I can still, when I pull the lever out itself, we can see that that's not coming out anymore. So we know that we're getting a good contact there. So the dry fit looks good. Now we're going to go ahead, oil it up, and install it. How we're going to do it is I have a grease gun. I'm just going to put some on a Q-tip just to make it a little bit cleaner and easier to do. Now we're going to oil all over this. I'm just wearing gloves so it's a little bit cleaner. And I'm even going to put it down inside of here. It gets very slippery. Now we're going to put that inside. And now we want to oil up the contact points, or the grease on here. You don't want to get it too thick, because then after the pressure, you get the bolt on there and that pressure is compressed on it, it's going to squeeze out any of the excess, so I'll try not to put it on too thick. Just make sure you got that contact hole facing the right way. Okay. Put your bolt in. Okay, we got the bolt in. We're going to screw it down. Okay, it feels tight. Now we're going to put the nut on. Just try not to drop it. Let's get it finger tight. Okay, now we are going to tighten it. And after it gets tight enough, you need to put the flathead back in this screw just so you can get a little more snug. Okay, that side is now done. And then just make sure that you check it again. Watch the plunger. Okay, so now that it's installed, I'm just going to clean off the excess grease that's up here. And down underneath. For the brake side, here's your plunger, and that is going to go inside this little sleeve there. Just putting the bolt in, you don't need to screw it in. As you can see the plunger right inside of here. Make sure it's getting compressed when you pull on that brake, and that's about all it should come in. Okay, we're going to watch the rubber right here. So when we pull on this brake, you can see it's getting compressed. When I take this lever off, it shouldn't be compressed at all. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to put oil on the contact points using the Q-tip. We're going to put it around here, inside the hole, and the same on the other side. And I'm going to put some up here on the plunger itself, and then just a little bit inside of here. Making sure that plunger goes inside that sleeve. Right there. Right there is snug. Just going to hand tighten the nut. Just make sure you do not drop the nut. I'm going to push on these wires, just try not to put too much strain on them. It might be easier if you use an open end wrench. Okay, now we're going to look at the plunger over here again. And we're just watching that rubber, and it looks like it's not compressed right now, so that's good. When we pull that in, it does compress, and that's what you want. Another way you can test to make sure that this isn't compressed is you can use jack stands, lift the front wheel up, and spin the front wheel. And if it doesn't move, something is wrong with your plunger, and try reinstalling it and see if that fixes it. So look at the rubber here on the plunger. Make sure it's not compressed when there is no pressure on the lever itself. Also, if you have the adjustable settings, make sure you can go all the way to the top, to the most extreme, and all the way down to the bottom. So you want to make sure that this is not going to compress at all, because you do not want that compressed when you're riding when there's no pressure on it. So we're going to watch the rubber while I move the... See how it did not move at all? That's what you want. And when we pull this, the brake lever in, this is going to compress. And that is what you want. Now I'm going to put it back up to the 6. Its widest grip. And I'm going to pull it in, and it compresses.